Hi, y'all. Carrie D here. I hope you are enjoying my new book, Homeschooling High School, a handbook for Christian education. If you haven't gotten it yet, I know you're going to love it and you're going to be blessed by it. You can get it at Amazon.com and at ChristianBooks.com. But for those of you who have been reading it, in the third section, I go into great detail about different ways that you can teach the different academic and elective and extracurricular type classes that you would like your student to learn, or maybe your state requires your student to learn. And I explain how you can teach them in a traditional way and in a non-traditional way. And I also teach it, I also explain how you can teach these different academic areas and electives for the college-bound student and for the student who wants to go into a trade and for a student who doesn't really know what they want to do. Okay, so hopefully you can go ahead and get your hands on my book, Homeschool High School, a handbook for Christian education. But what I wanted to talk about today was I wanted to share with you some of my favorite curriculum and recommendations for high school science. So if there's any subject in the high school area that homeschool moms and dads feel totally inadequate to teach, it's science and math. So we're going to tackle science today. All right. So first of all, no matter what state you live in, whether it's a super low key state like California, Utah, Texas, where they really don't give you too much, they just say you need to have biology and physical science of some kind. Or maybe you live in a state like Vermont or New York, and they're very specific about it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you the general, if you would like to do biology or a life science with your high schooler, and some sort of physical science. Now that could be physical science, or it could be anything in that realm, like chemistry, which is usually what a lot of high schoolers wind up taking, or physics if they're more advanced or science minded. But it can also include things like earth science and geology. Okay. So if your state doesn't tell you specifically what type of physical science or biology that your high schooler has to take, you have an awful lot of freedom in there. Now, what I talk about in my book a lot is when you create your 4-year plan and you figure out when your student's going to learn these different subjects and topics, and you're also trying to figure out how they're going to learn it and what they're going to learn within that topic, you want to include your high schooler in the planning. Okay, so let's just say that your state requires biology, or your student wants to take biology, or you just want to make sure you follow the guidelines that the traditional high schooler in your state does, just so that his transcript will be comparable to what the traditional high schooler might have. Okay, so you're probably going to have some sort of biology on the transcript, and your student's going to learn some sort of life science and some sort of physical science. All right, so in the biology realm, that could be a traditional biology class with a lab. Okay, but that can also be marine biology. That could be human anatomy and physiology. It could be advanced biology. So you don't have to, it could be botany, if your student really enjoys plants and whatnot. So on the transcript, you can write biology, but you can go in more specific areas of the type of life science that your high schooler wants to learn. Or you can put it on their transcript as a year of marine biology or a year of human anatomy and physiology, if that's what you did. Or if you live on a farm, you can use some sort of environmental science on the transcript instead. Okay. And then when it comes to physical science, the same thing. You can list it just as physical science, but really get into like mechanics and things like that during their studies. Or they could learn a traditional chemistry with a lab, or they could do physics, a traditional physics with a lab. Or like I said, they could do earth science, meteorology, whatever really floats your teen's boat. Okay. And then you can decide what areas you want to go into and how you want to record that on the transcript. Okay, so let's talk about the biology. Well, actually, biology and the physical science. There are so many really great curriculum out there. Okay, I am just recommending to you my favorites, the things that we have had personal experience with, or things that my friends and my kids' friends have used during their high school years that I know were taught from a biblical perspective as well. Okay. So if you would like your student to have their sciences taught from a Christian worldview, these three right here are extremely helpful and comprehensive. Okay, so anything from apologia, whether it's the biology, the chemistry, the physics, you name it, it's or physical science, it's going to be great. Okay. And the way the Apologia is designed or written is that the student can do it on their own. And it comes with tests for you, it comes with answer keys, it comes with assignments, it comes with labs. A lot of the labs are designed so that you can do them in your own kitchen and maybe get a few extra little things that you wouldn't have in your kitchen. But also, you could buy those things and those chemicals and those products and those specimens from Apologia. Okay, so you could buy the whole all-in-one kit. So I think Apologia is a fabulous one to use. That if your student is self-driven or would like to do biology or physical science on their own, Apologia would be a great way to go. Okay. Also, I absolutely love the 101 DVD series. They've grown. So they also have one for physical science, general science, biology 101, chemistry 101, and physics 101. And I really love this one for the students who are either not science minded, right? Or they don't plan on going into a degree or a career that includes an awful lot of higher science knowledge. This DVD series is a fabulous introduction to each of these topics, and it's, of course, it's done through DVD. So there's these short little video lectures. It also comes with tests and writing assignments if you want. It also comes with lab work that you can do. Again, things that you can do in your own home. I absolutely love these because I feel like these more than Apologia can be done as a whole family as well. So your high schooler can be doing the extra activities, but the whole family can be watching the videos that come with it. They can even be participating in the lab work. And then your teen can then go off and do a lot of the extra stuff on their own. Okay, those are my two favorites. Another website that we used all the time was Home Science Tools. I love this website because anything and everything we needed for lab work, you could find there. So they had your chemicals, they had your specimens for dissection, they had kits. So like you could do a whole forensic science exploration. You could do a whole year of forensic science, and they have different kits that you can order, and everything comes, including the directions, the answer keys, all of that kind of stuff. So you could literally, like those subscription boxes, you could order it and just give it to your high school and let them do it, or you can order it and then as a family or with your teen do the different activities that are in it. But I absolutely love Home Science Tools. I think it's a fabulous program. Now, another book that I need to make sure I share with you, it was our favorite devotion that my teens used when they were doing chemistry. Okay. You can actually use it with a middle schooler, but I loved it for the high schoolers. And it's called Elements of Faith, and it's published by Master Books. And what I love about it is each double page spreads, it goes through the periodic table. And each double page spread talks about a particular element on the periodic table. So by the time you get through the whole devotional, your student has learned about all the elements on the periodic table. So what you do with that is up to you. You could have your teen memorize the periodic table, look into more information about the different elements. That's up to you. Or you can just use it as a lovely devotional and science extra. Okay. But each double page spread, so like if they're talking about oxygen, on the left-hand side, it'll give you all the science information about the element of oxygen, where it's found, how it's used, its qualities, its characteristics, what happens when it interacts with other elements and things like that. And then on the right side of the page, it then gives you biblical applications about oxygen, and it connects it to God's world. It connects it to our faith. It gives you just different biblical principles that your student can apply in their life. It gives them a Bible verse to perhaps memorize, and also an idea of how to pray. Okay, so I absolutely love, it's called Elements of Faith. It's a fabulous devotional to use the year that your student or your high schooler might be doing chemistry. Okay. Now, for your non-traditional type of learners, you don't have to use a textbook, okay? And for a lot of our my kids, their high school years, they didn't use an awful lot of formal curriculum for their sciences. There was one year my daughter really wanted to take chemistry with her friends, so she took an outside class at our co-op. And my son really wanted to take biology with his friends, so he took an outside class at our co-op for that. But for the most part, I may have used Apologia as my guide, right, as my scope and sequence. I use the DVD series, the 101 series, for like lectures and for them to look at. But a lot of what you can continue to do, both in the biology and the physical science area, especially if you're a Charlotte Mason kind of a girl, is to continue doing nature studies and using the notebook approach. All right. So don't stop doing nature studies when your high schooler gets to biology. Continue to do nature studies. Just give your high schooler a little extra research to do, a little extra writing to do, a little extra labeling to do in their notebook or their nature journal. Okay. What I did for my daughter when she was in biology, I used the Apologia table of contents, and that kind of set up the different things that I wanted to make sure we looked for or we studied each week in our nature studies. And then we would go off on our usual nature studies. We would look for those things, like, for instance, mushrooms, if we were doing the fungi kingdom. And my daughter would, and my son, he got to come along and do this too, even though he wasn't in high school. And we would look for mushrooms. The kids would find them. They would do their normal nature journaling stuff. They drew the mushrooms. And then for high school work, extra work, my daughter would research the different mushrooms that she found. She would write a little bit longer paragraphs or research reports about mushrooms. And we would do, using the home science tools and our grocery store, we would get different kits to help us dissect mushrooms and do experiments with other fungi like bacteria. And my daughter would record that in her nature journal and the things that happened. And then they would label the different mushrooms that they drew and the classification of it. So you can turn your nature journaling into basically what my kids' nature journals look like once they got to high school. Was it looked like they were actually creating their own science textbook. So by the end of the year, they're beautiful drawings, and sometimes not so beautiful drawings, and paintings of the different things that we studied, and their labeling. It actually looked like a science textbook that they would have gotten or used if they were doing something like Apologia or Abeka. Okay. So nature studying, or the notebook approach, is also a fabulous way you could keep doing it. And it doesn't have to just be with biology. You could do a whole year of geology and just study rocks and earthquakes and things like that in your nature journaling. Okay. You could do a whole year of astronomy, right? And, your nature journaling has everything to do with the stars and the night sky and the moon phases and the sun and the planets and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so you can continue to use nature studies and the notebook approach as your curriculum. All right. All right. Another thing that you could do is you could have your students start studying the different professions that they think they might want to do. So, like, for instance, if your son or daughter would like to become a nurse or EMT, they could start taking those courses at a community college in high school, get all of their certification classes out of the way. And then when they turn 18 or they graduate, then they can go ahead and take the test. Okay. So they're getting a leg up on it. They could begin the fire academy courses that they have to take while they're still in high school. If they want to be a personal trainer, they could do all the personal training courses that they need to do. And then when they turn 18, then they can go ahead and take the test and get certified and start off on their life. Okay, their profession. Another thing that I think is a fabulous way to get some, if your student is college minded and wants to go to college, to save money and time, is to start taking some CLEP exams. And what a CLEP exam is when your student takes these exams, say in biology or in chemistry, and they get a 4 or a 5, and the university they want to go to accepts the CLEP exam and a 4 or 5 of a score. No, not a 4 or 5. Sorry, that's the AP. They get a 50 or a 60 or higher on their exam score. then they test out of biology 101 and they test out of chemistry 101. And so you just save thousands of dollars because now your student doesn't have to take those classes. They're getting their prerequisites and their general ed classes out of the way. And they're doing it while they're still in high school. Now, a program that I absolutely love is called modernstates.org. And I love this because it's an online video. They're different courses that your student can take. They're taught by renowned professors all around the United States from places like Yale and Harvard and Princeton and USC and things like that. And they help prepare your student for the chemistry CLEP or the biology CLEP. And so you pay for the course, which is, I think, $120, which is the same amount that it costs to take a CLEP exam. You do the video course at your own pace. It comes with tests and practice tests and all that kind of stuff. And when you're done taking this course, you get a voucher to take that CLEP exam, the biology or the chemistry or the physics one. And then you don't have to pay for the CLEP exam. And then if your student passes, like I said, with a score that the university accepts, now they got biology credit for $120 instead of $3,000, $4,000. Okay, so the CLEP exam in Modern States is a fabulous way to go. Now, don't forget, you can still play games with your high schoolers. I think playing games, and science backs it up, you learn faster with less repetitions when you play games. But here are some games that are at the high school level. One is called Elemento. Love it. It's the periodic table. It's like Monopoly, but it's about the elements. Valence is great because it teaches about ions and chemical reactions and physical reactions. There's Flux. They have a whole bunch of games, but I love their chemistry one because it also gets into atoms and elements and chemical and physical reactions. There's just so many chemistry and biology games, not as many biology, but a lot of chemistry games that you can have on hand and play with your high schooler as well as with the other students, younger kids in your family. So if the material is too hard for, say, your fifth grader, then your fifth grader teams up with you. And it's you and your fifth grader against your high schooler, and you could still be learning together as a family. All right, so there's tons of different resources out there for biology and chemistry and physics, but these are my favorites. And these are some of the ones that I do mention in my book, Homeschool High School, a Handbook for Christian Education. I hope you'll get it. You can find it at Amazon and christianbooks.com. I also have a bunch of episodes on high school at Coffee with Carrie Homeschool Podcast. So I hope that you'll go and check that out. And if anything, just go to my website, www.coffeewithcarrie.org, and anything and everything that I offer can be found there, and it will bring you out from there. So thanks for hanging out with me, and have fun learning high school science with your teenager.